Hello. I'm here. How's it going? This is Friday. It is Rational Live. It is October 7th, 2022. For some reason, it still feels weird saying 2022. It feels like it should be 2021, but it's 2022. I'm so glad to see so many people here. People that are, for some reason, surprised, like I'm inconsistent. Come on now. I always do live streams. Doesn't always fall at 3 p.m. on a Friday, but I do them. I, at some point during the week, show up. So here I am right now. All right. So I've prepped a few stories. And then maybe some other things later on that I did not really prep, but I have links here. So we will go through those, have a good time. As you can see today for the live chat, it is subscribers only. So No bullshit. If you're going to chat, you got to be subscribed. So I would tell you to subscribe, but if you're chatting, you already are. But if you're watching and not chatting, you should subscribe and chat if you choose to. So hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to get notified when I go live, because it could be any time. It could be 3 p.m. on a Friday. It could be 9 a.m. on a Monday. Probably not, but it could be. You never know. So you have to hit that bell icon to know for sure when it's going to happen and when the video goes up. Which, by the way, like, I put a video up like at most twice a day. So it's not too much of a nuisance just to get a couple notifications a day. Not a big deal. So hit that bell icon. It helps me out and also helps the algorithm as well, as does subscribing. All right. Also, if you want to join on Patreon, therationalnational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. Links are also below the video in the description box to support the show. I'll also take super chats throughout the stream as well. So that's fun. But maybe I should start. Super chat already. Look at that. Look at that. Excellent. Let's see more of those. This person... Why isn't it popping up on YouTube, being weird? But I see it on the side. Charles here saying, hey, David, why do you think Canada never had a revolution like the U.S.? Also, thoughts on Maloney. She is nuts, in my opinion. I agree with you. I don't know. I'm sure there is a better answer than one I can give you, one that is based in history that I do not know, but it's a good question. But you can ask that of pretty much, most countries that didn't have any sort of U.S.-like revolution against the British. But regardless, we are what we are now. All right, let me get into this first story, because Reefer Madness is back. Not that it ever went away. Maybe that's the intro. Look at that smooth transition. I just rolled to the side. Well, Reefer Madness is back. After President Joe Biden made his stunning announcement that he's actually going to pardon those that have been convicted of marijuana possession, as well as take steps to move marijuana out of a Schedule I drug, meaning it's closer to being decriminalized and legalized. Of course, people on the right freaked out. Now, I'm going to show you some clips, but to my surprise, and really it shouldn't be that surprising, there are some prominent figures on the right who have not, as of recording this, said anything about this at all. So Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Matt Walsh, Tim Pool, so-called centrist Tim Pool, he's on the right, have all been silent. So in my video yesterday discussing this news, I said the only way the right's going to be able to fight back against this, or attempt to fight back against this, is by tying it to crime in some way. And there is a bit of that. But I guess the other obvious thing is they don't talk about it at all, because they know how popular this position is. And actually, I'm going to get to a Republican politician admitting this and actually siding with Joe Biden. Shocking. So I'll get there, and I'll also end on a very uplifting note from Bernie Sanders. But first here, just to quickly recap, let me play a bit of Joe Biden's announcement that he made about this. And for live audience, I think I'm just going to sit down here. How about that? Let's do this, bring this up. All right. Don't need to watch the whole thing, but let's start from about here.
This failed approach. First, I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana. There are thousands of people who are convicted for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result of that conviction. My pardon will remove this burden on them. Second, I'm calling on all governors to do the same for state marijuana possession offenses. Third, the federal government currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, the same as heroin and LSD, and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. So I'm asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to initiate a process to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Even as federal and local regulations of marijuana change, important limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales should stay in place. Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs.
All right. Pretty good announcement there from Joe Biden. Again, very surprising considering his history. But also, look, I can't help myself. I deserve some credit because I said Biden, even though he is not a good politician, or not a, in terms of his positions and what he has done in his past, not a good politician. He is movable on issues if you push him enough. If there is enough of a movement and support in one direction, and he sees what is popular. Like, again, understanding here, he's doing this because this is popular. This makes him more popular. He isn't doing this because all of a sudden, he's big into weed now. No, he's doing this because politically it makes sense for him. And I always said he's the kind of guy that moves with the wind. If you track his history through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, his positions usually aligned, even if they were the wrong position, usually aligned with the consensus. And that's where he is now on this. But here we get to the first reaction. So let's do Laura Ingraham. Here's what she had to say.
Well, it starts with marijuana, but where does it go from there? Oregon was the first state to decriminalize it. Then they legalized it for recreational use. And then a few years later, they decriminalized hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, LSD, and even meth. How things look. Well, it starts with.
All right, so Laura Ingraham fear-mongering that this is going to get somewhere crazy. Oh my God, look at that. Isn't that a scary image? Do you want this? Do you want people burning spoons? Well, let me bring you to how this, if that actually were to happen, if it were to go further and they would begin decriminalizing more things, how that would actually be a great thing. Because here's a question you need to ask yourself. Why hardly anyone dies from a drug overdose in Portugal? They decriminalized all drugs back in 2001. At the time, Portugal had the highest rate of overdose deaths. They are now among the lowest in the EU. And that's because of decriminalization, but also because of the investment into healthcare and treating it as a health issue and not a criminal one. So what Laura Ingraham is fear-mongering is actually the solution to the problem. And there is a lot more on this. I mean, by the way, do your own research. If you don't believe me, look this up yourself. Look up Portugal decriminalization and look at the actual results. So there's a great breakdown here from Transform Drug Policy Foundation saying here, decriminalization in Portugal, what you need to know, drug-related deaths have remained below the EU average since 2001. The population or the proportion of prisoners sentenced for drugs has fallen from 40% to 15%, and rates of drug use have remained consistently below the EU average. That's because of decriminalization and their renewed approach to healthcare back in 2001. But they even have some stats here. Here's a new HIV diagnosis attributed to injecting drug use data. So from 2000 all the way down to now, look at how it dropped as they continued with this approach, putting more money to healthcare, not treating this as a criminalized issue. This is the solution. Also, I just want to play, this is 8 seconds, but it's hilarious. So I want to play this as well.
This is what they're going to give you more of if you elect them. Abortion, pot, porn, and more January 6th hearings.
Abortion, pot, porn, and more Jan 6 hearings. What's the problem? I mean, this really speaks to who Laura Ingraham's audience is. People that skew a lot older. Not, again, there are many people that are older that are not completely out of their minds, that do know what is happening, that understand this stuff, that read into it, that are knowledgeable. But when it, in terms of the actual audience that watches Fox News, they skew much older and they're scared by all these things. So it's just the idea of using that line as a way to scare people away from Democrats is pretty funny. But now let's get to CNN, because they're not, innocent in this either. Here's CNN's Republican strategist, Alice Stewart, her comments on Biden's moves on cannabis.
I think this will be very impactful for Joe Biden and Democrats in terms of winning over a large portion of the voter electorate that thinks this is an important issue. There are a lot of Democrats, and 3/4 of Americans think that we should legalize marijuana. So that is something, certainly a factor in him making this decision. I see this as a ploy to, in midterms, to gain support and gain voters. I happen to think that marijuana is a gateway drug. I'm not a big advocate for legalizing marijuana, maybe for medicinal purposes, but not as a whole.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm saying as a whole. But here's the thing. Part of his announcement was to also advocate to governors do the same at the state level. That's not happening. I reached out to Governor Asa Hutchinson's office in Arkansas. They don't like this. He sees this as waving the red flag of surrender to protecting the lives of those who are victims of drug abuse.
All right, I'm not even sure what that last point she's trying to make there is. The only real difference between legalizing marijuana and it being illegal is the criminal aspect of it. People having criminal records, their lives being impacted in a variety of ways because of that, and just the fuel to organized crime. Because for years, you can get cannabis whether or not it's legal, very easily. In fact, definitely easier for teenagers to get it while it's illegal than when it's legal. Because once it's legalized, it's then put under the umbrella of the legalized market, and it's not, no kid can just walk into a store and buy marijuana. So it becomes a lot tougher to actually acquire it. There's this attachment, this weird attachment that these reefer madness people have, where they think legalizing it means that more people are going to get it now, and kids are going to get their hands on it, and somehow it's going to, and putting aside the insane idea of it being a gateway drug, which there's no evidence of that at all, but this idea that legalizing means more people get it, more people, abuse it, whatever. Nothing backs that up. Nothing. These feelings that people have towards weed, they're just feelings that they have. Facts don't care about your feelings. Canada decriminalized, or I should say legalized, cannabis back in 2018, and everything is the same. Nothing bad has happened. All the fear mongering around, more kids are going to use it. It's going to increase car accidents, or there's going to be higher rates of schizophrenia, whatever the hell it is. None of that came true. None of it. Everything is the same, except now people are not having criminal records or not getting criminal records for using it. That's the difference. It really is crazy how they've consistently used these anti-cannabis talking points for decades, proven wrong again and again and again, yet they keep using it even though no data backs any of it up. Now, I want to show you somebody who is surprisingly on Biden's side. Here is Nancy Mace on Fox Business discussing, this is a Republican congresswoman discussing Joe Biden's recent move.
What do you think about President Biden today pardoning thousands of federal marijuana offenders?
Well, I want to give credit where credit is due. I don't always agree with the Biden administration. I've been very vocal about that. But this is a step in the right direction. The president wants to pardon people for very simple possession of nonviolent cannabis offenders at the federal level. And he wants to encourage our governors across the country to do the same. And I think that's a great first step. I have a bill that we've talked about, Kennedy, called the States Reform Act. And that is one piece of the puzzle to addressing cannabis in this country, but there's more to do. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that needs regulation, that needs to be have some guardrails to ensure that we're not selling marijuana or cannabis to kids and our youth.
All right, and she goes on about, her support in her bill, but this is a rare thing to see. But understand again why even Mace here is willing to say this. It's because this is a very popular issue. Even on CNN, when what's her name? Alice Stewart was discussing this. Even she had to admit that 3/4 of people agree with this position. So, politically, just strictly politically, it is the right, siding with Biden here is the right thing to do, which is also why you're seeing a lot of the right-wing propagandists not even touch this issue, because what are they going to say? Last thing here, I want to end on Bernie Sanders and this very hopeful, positive message after the news came out that Biden would do this. Now, for the live audience, there's a small piece of this I want to use. I don't want to use all of this, but I'm not sure where it starts.
Schedule 1 and fentanyl is totally insane. People like marijuana, you don't like marijuana. I tried it twice about 100 years ago. Didn't do much for me. Other people, I gather, have had different experiences. But
imagine smoking weed with Bernie Sanders. I would like to do that. But anyways.
Whatever it is, nobody in their right mind thinks that marijuana is the equivalent of fentanyl or heroin, which are killer drugs. And what the president announced today is moving forward to take marijuana off of Schedule 1. I mention that not only because it's important unto itself, but because it shows what happens when you work hard at the grassroots level. It's something that many of us have worked on for years, and it finally made its way to the top, and I applaud the president for making that decision. But we've got a long, long way to go. In my view, as I said, I happen to believe that marijuana should be legal all over this country. All right, we've got to continue that effort.
Great message there from Bernie Sanders, pointing to the grassroots, understanding why it's gotten to this place, how society has been able to overcome decades of propaganda, of anti-marijuana propaganda. It's because of the grassroots movement. It's because that, in combination with the science, these people that have been a part of the movement for decades, they deserve a lot of credit for getting to this place. So while Biden is getting a lot of credit for doing this, and he should get credit for doing it, understand we're only at this place now because of the people that came before him that have been fighting for this for years, despite all of the bullshit being spewed against them. All right, that's that. We got Velma. Velma's coming up. And Bill Burr. And some other stuff. All right. Where should I go here? There we go. What's the chat saying? How you guys doing? How you doing there on this Friday? My Steam Deck arrived today. So I know what I'm doing tonight. Definitely going to be tinkering with that thing. I have not had a competent PC in years, so to have one in my hands in a handheld is pretty sweet. All right, I'll get to this next story, but I want to see if there's any comments on this cannabis stuff that I want to bring up here. Someone's saying a Hunter about to get indicted. I haven't followed this Hunter stuff at all because I don't know why anybody cares. And I mean in particular like the right. Hunter is not in government. He's not a part of Biden's cabinet. Like I just don't it's like caring about that one Trump kid. Who's that one Trump kid that everyone forgets? Tiffany? It's like if she was going to be indicted. Like, who cares? She's not even in in Trump's circle. Like, why would I care about that? Why would I care about this? It's so weird how they tried to make that an election issue in 2020. Meanwhile, Trump had his own freaking kids, part of his administration and like his family generally. Yeah, it's just really crazy how anyone ever cared about that story. And yeah, if he's guilty of something, sure, whatever. Go to jail. Pay a fine. I don't really care. Rhino Wiki says, hey, hope your weekend is good. Recently looked up stochastic terrorism by demographic, and it's extremely right-leaning. This isn't brought up by many. I've brought up stochastic terrorism before. I did it recently discussing the, was it Boston Children's Hospital and all the anti-trans madness that the right has been spewing at that. But yeah, obviously. I mean, think who fearmongers, who brings up, who makes stories out of absolutely nothing. It's the right. They do it consistently. And you see that. You see them demonizing individuals, naming names, putting faces on screen, like they did with the doctors that are, I guess, administering trans healthcare. It's so disgusting what they do. All right, let me just get to the next story. Just gotta do some tab maneuvering here. All right. All for Nothing says, when are we getting another Rational National Fall Guys stream? I did one on, was it Sunday? I streamed for like 4 hours this past weekend. It's not public anymore. It's unlisted. If you want to see it, I can post it on Patreon if I haven't posted it already. I can post it on as well for YouTube members under the member tab. So you can check it out there. But if you want to see me game stream, there you go. I did 4 hours past weekend. I'm happy to do it whenever. If people are going to enjoy watching me, enjoy myself play games, then hell yeah. But this weekend will likely be a lot of Steam Deck, just because it's, you know, new and shiny. All right. Oh, by the way, I have the Discord link above. You see a pin there in the live chat. Join the Discord. People that are patrons have a little title beside their name, but you can join regardless. I'm trying to grow that and do something there. So, you know, you all are welcome. All right. This next story. It's very, very important story. Wait, I want to get this clear. Is Velma queer or lesbian? Because I think she's a lesbian. Well, whatever. Breaking news. Velma from Scooby-Doo is not straight. This is a problem, apparently, for the right, who have had quite the reaction to Velma, who they, for years, they had these crushes. They really thought they could get with her. But now their hearts are collectively broken, as she's apparently into women. How sad. So this from IndieWire here. Velma is officially queer in Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo animated film. 2 decades after James Gunn's live-action films and animated series Mystery Incorporated sought to show Velma as gay, which, by the way, I did some reading. She apparently was, a lesbian 20 years ago. But the studio at the time downplayed that in the script. So they forced the changes to the script so that she wasn't. But anyways, saying the new Halloween film makes Velma's sexuality not a mystery anymore. Oh, who cares? But, add this to Dr. Seuss books, add this to Mr. Potato Head, all these non-stories. I mean, just quickly on those two issues. The Dr. Seuss books, the ones that were canceled or taken off shelves, that was decided by the actual Dr. Seuss company. These are books that no one even read. They are anymore. They were really, they had, racist aspects to them. That's why they were taken off. Again, the company decided that. They weren't canceled externally and then forced down. No, the company out of nowhere thought, hey, these are bad. Let's take them down. And then on Mr. Potato Head, they just changed the overall title to Potato Head. There is still Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, but they're under the Potato Head label. So both of those complete non-stories. Here's another one. Velma. Velma is a lesbian. Who gives a shit? But apparently people do. So first, let's start with Eric Bowling. Eric Bowling on Newsmax. Here's his take on Velma.
Well, did you see that? Our beloved Scooby-Doo has gone woke. Velma has come out as LGBTQ. I'm guessing she's the L, but she may be the B. I don't know. Perhaps the T would mean she's been a dude all along, all this time, right? I'm not sure. Maybe it's the Q. Truth be told, I can't really tell the difference between most of the letters. It always confuses me, by the way, folks, when a man decides he's a woman, becomes a woman, then sleeps with women. I mean, why don't you say a man? Sorry, don't hate on me.
I'm just going to pause there for a second. It's really not that confusing. There is gender identity and then sexual orientation. How you identify is different than who you are attracted to. Not all that complicated. It's okay to be a little confused, but once it's explained, it should be pretty easy to understand. But anyways, let's continue these comments.
Liberals and lefties, I don't hate y'all. I just don't fully understand the different categories. But you do you. But do we really need our kids exposed to those ideas? Scooby-Doo, a kid's cartoon. Again, adults, no issue with what you want to be, but kids and cartoons geared straight at kids, no gracias. By the way, Velma, she's gay now? Don't worry to my straight male friends. Daphne, she's still straight as far as we can see. And as far as I can see, by the way, HBO Max, is Fred straight? I mean, if Velma is lesbian, I can see Fred being gay. I don't know, Scooby, what do you think, Fred? Is he gay?
All right. I got another example coming up here of somebody else, but this idea that there shouldn't be any gay characters in a cartoon because kids watch those. Why is it okay to only feed them straight content where there's only people that are attracted to the opposite sex? Why is that okay, but it's not okay to expose them to the real world where there is all kinds of people that like different things, that identify differently, that have different names, that eat different foods? Like, why is this a problem? This is not a problem. They make this into an issue. It's 2022. Get with it. But let's get to Crowder now, who, of course, is definitely hiding his own secret. But let's start with his comments and see what he's got to say about this.
Okay. So look.
Come on.
Here's the macro. I don't care if you want to have a lesbian character.
Right.
Now, there is a when you have people who are gay or lesbian, which is atypical, and by that I mean, it's always been about 2% of the population. Now it's claimed to be 7% when you go LGBTQ, AAIP, and that includes queer and bisexual, but a very small percentage of the population. So it necessitates a conversation with kids. Well, hold on a second. What is that? Why is a woman making out with a woman? Why are they having a romantic relationship? Because it doesn't necessitate a sexual follow-up question if you just see a man and a woman, because that is the norm.
Right.
It does if it's atypical. Kids ask questions. So I don't think it should be ejected into kids shows.
I'm going to pause there. You shouldn't show kids anything that will cause them to ask questions. That's his argument here. Kids are going to ask questions, so you shouldn't do it. How else do kids learn? They ask questions. Should you not drive anywhere? You can't go anywhere for the weekend because your kid may ask, are we there yet? Or where are we going? And it's a question. We can't be answering questions. What a stupid argument to make. Who gives a shit? Explain it. Hey, some people like women, some people like men, some people like everybody. Who gives a shit? This is not, it's very easy to, if you have to explain it, it's very easy to explain. The idea that a kid asking a question is, the reason why you can't be exposing them to anything is really not only bizarre, but definitely unhealthy for the child if they aren't allowed to ask questions and have them answered. But let's go on.
The other thing, though, is, look, there are plenty of lesbian characters and gay characters. There's not a problem with that, right? The BBC has it as low as references available at loudwithcarter.com. 2021, they said 12%. of all U.S. TV characters were LGBTQ. And I've actually seen that number as high as 16%. Let's call it 12, 14%. It's still at least more than double, likely triple that of the pop. There are plenty of gay and lesbian characters. They're just not as popular. So if we're going to bitch about appropriation, why do you need to take a straight character and make her lesbian? Just go make your own. It's not our fault people don't want to watch it, just because we don't want to watch a bunch of cartoon women shop at Bass Pro.
All right. I'm not even sure what the other argument was. You don't want to watch lesbian and gay characters. Do you watch Scooby-Doo, Steven Crowder? Like, were you really looking forward to this Halloween special? And now you're not going to watch? Oh yeah, there's no arguments here. Because they can't. There's no possible argument they can make. They are just trying to be, not trying to, they are bigoted is what they are. And they are trying to appeal to that bigoted audience without actually coming out and saying it. I don't like this because this person's lesbian. That's it. That's what this is. And they're trying to couch it in, oh, kids are going to ask questions. You know, when they ask questions, you can answer them. Really, really stupid. There is a real debate, though, happening. Is this bisexual eraser? Because apparently Velma has been bi. She liked women. She's liked men in the past. So she's actually bisexual. But now they're claiming that, no, she's a lesbian. So if there's any real debate to be had, it's maybe this is bisexual erasure. But I don't know. I, again, don't really care. But if there is a debate to be had, that's the debate. Okay. Only tackling the important stories on a Friday evening, all right? Or afternoon. Feels like evening because I've been working all day. But next is even more important. Even more important. But let's see what the people are saying about Velma. What a name, by the way. It's very fun to say. Velma. Velma. I don't know. I'm a freak. There we go. That's what I wanted. This is all so dumb. Hard to argue. Very hard to argue with that. Friday stream for the win. Thank you, Eric. I agree, for the win. Shaggy and Scoob were doing it too affectionate. I should probably pre-read these before reading them out loud. I like these stories because right-wingers lose sleep over these stories. This is why it's important to showcase this kind of stupid garbage occasionally, is because it really blows a hole into everything else they do. Like, if you're going to have people freak out about this or freak out about, is it Lizzo playing a crystal flute? Like, showcasing these obvious ridiculous positions that these people hold. Hopefully it allows others to maybe question the other positions that these crazy people hold. So because I have a hard time imagining that there is that many people out there that really give a shit about Velma's sexuality. It's very hard for me to believe. But I guess those people exist. Nice to see you too, Rob. Thank you for showing up. All right, so I'm going to get to Bill Burr and then maybe some other stuff. And there we go. I have a hard out at 4:30, but I'm sure I'll be done by then. All right. Let's get to the next story. In fact, I will be right back as I quickly prep this. All right, back on the Rational Live. Make sure you hit subscribe down below. And if you are on Patreon or want to join the Patreon page, rationalnational.com/join. As well, if you are here live, the Discord link is in the live chat pinned at the top. And if you become a patron, you get a title in the Discord. All right, I'm gonna get to this next story, then do some chatting, show some other links, and we're gonna have a good time. All right. For you live audience, I'm probably going to slice up. These Bill Burr comments are like, I don't know, 3 minutes long. So I'm going to play them all for you, but I'm likely going to, actually maybe even longer than that. Let's see. But I'm likely going to slice it up for the actual segment that I cut out. All right. Comedian Bill Burr got a message from one of his communist-hating fans on on his show, and Burr, to kind of my surprise, though he's generally been very open in this sense, but he really went at capitalism and defended socialism. So I found this to be a very fun listen. I'm going to play some of these comments and also going to show you just how twisted the narrative is around socialism or communism, and how the right does not properly showcase the differences, or the way they argue it is just completely empty. So I'll get to that in a bit. But first, here is the beginning of Bill Burr reading this message from one of his fans. Let's fix this window.
Socialism. Hi, Bill, you redheaded fuck. I really appreciate the bluntness of that. How are you? Last week you mentioned you don't know why people demonize socialism. I was really taken aback at that statement. Oh, Jesus Christ. Every country that has tried socialism has failed, and it's responsible for tens of millions of deaths. All right, so would you say capitalism is working? And it is not, when what is it? Like 99% of the wealth is in like fucking 2% of the people's hands. All of these tent cities, you're telling me this is working? You don't think capitalism is responsible for tens of millions of deaths? Anyway, Russia, Germany, China, Cuba, and most recently Venezuela have tried, or right now are socialist countries. As far as I know, whatever Cuba was trying to do, we prevented them from doing with a fucking embargo or whatever the hell we did. We've been fucking with them for 60 years. So I think you're looking at like what a lot of people do is you look at your own country through rose-colored glasses the same way you look at your own sports team like, oh, my team doesn't cheat, but your team does.
All right, so I got some more comments coming up. So far, so great. This is really good to see. It is very rare for any major white male politician to have a position like this and vocalize it, especially in an educated way and comical way that Bill Burr does. As I've said many times, comedy is the greatest way to educate people. I wish I was a better comedian, but because then I would do that. But here he does a great job, and I want to just he refutes the Cuba aspect. I want to refute the Venezuela aspect here, because this is a great piece from Matt Brunig from 2019. Norway is far more socialist than Venezuela. So this is definitely worth reading the entire thing, but I'm going to pick out just a few pieces here from it. So in Norway, the surplus from the oil boom has been used to build a $1 trillion collectively owned capital fund, with the return on that capital going to finance general government spending, including the country's large welfare state. This capital fund is even colorfully described by the Norwegian government as the people's money owned by everyone, divided equally and for generations to come. In Venezuela, the government appears to have used the surplus primarily to finance current social spending. This means that on the thing most remarkable about the two countries, Norway comes away as more socialist. Norway uses its oil sector to build an enormous stock of collectively owned capital, which then goes to fund social spending, while Venezuela skips the middle step. Insofar as socialism is about collective ownership of the means of production, an objective observer would have to declare Norway being the more socialist of the two. And he even goes on here, one more paragraph. Norway's edge on Venezuela goes beyond the different ways the two countries have handled their nationalized oil sectors. Although Venezuelan data is a bit hard to come by, it is hard to imagine, based on what information we do have, that the Venezuelan government owns 1/3 of the country's domestic corporate equity like Norway does. And the Venezuelan government for sure does not own 60% of the national wealth like Norway does, even on indicators that are not strictly socialist, but that people often conflate with socialism, such as government taxes, revenue, and expenditure. Norway dominates. So understand how the right picks the countries that they deem as the scary ones, that they deem as being socialist, even though there are countries like Norway that are far more socialist than Venezuela is, but they're not going to mention Norway because Norway is at the top of basically every list. Like when it comes to happiness, when it comes to the amount of money that people have compared to, or the gap between the rich and the poor, how small it is compared to other countries. I mean, across the board, Norway is a fantastic place to live. So they're not going to bring that up. But now let's get to the second clip here from Bill Burr's podcast.
You're really sort of looking the other way with what capitalism has done to other countries. All the sweatshop labor, all the wars we've fought in over air quote freedom, where most of it is about, natural resources. All of these fucking countries where we've gone in and, stuck in heads of the government that are going to do what we want to do so we can fucking take advantage of them. Like, I mean, to sit there and look at capitalism like it's, I don't know, dude. All right, I took off my Birkenstock, so I'm going to read the rest of this here. Okay, socialism all starts the same way. Create a boogeyman like corporations, the rich, or a race. Oh, yeah, we've never done that in this country. We've never created a boogeyman. There's never, Jesus Christ, buddy. Blame them for all your problems. Yeah, we never did that. The leaders then promised to fix all the problems. Oh, boy. Slowly, the government starts to control every aspect of your life. Why does this sound so familiar? Promise that aren't they like recording all our phone conversations now? And we're slowly on our way to getting microchipped. Promise that everybody will have the same equity and outcome. This creates mediocrity, loss of the middle class. Loss of the middle class. Where have I seen that before? Of innovation. Corporations are buying houses now. They're just buying them up so they can fucking Airbnb. Like literally the American dream, buying a house. They're going to take that away in this country. That reduces the tax money coming out into the government. Buddy, I can't fucking read all of this horse shit. This is everything that we're doing too. Capitalism, okay, I'll get to the end here. Capitalism, no, you know what? Let's just read all of this because it's fucking hilarious that he's acting like none of this is happening in this country. And you know what's funny about people? You don't like it, get the fuck out of here. This is my favorite thing ever. Yet you can look at your sports team and be like, what the fuck is this coach doing? And then nobody goes like, you don't go fucking root for somebody else. No, I'm criticizing it because I love it and I want it to win.
There is so much goodness there. Just on that last point, like it is one of the biggest lies. There are so many lies, so many massive lies that the right uses. But the idea that criticizing policies in the country is somehow, it means you hate the country you live in, or it means you should leave, go somewhere else. Are we not allowed to have any criticisms of anything? What if there's an aspect of your job that you don't like, or maybe you want to raise? Is the right-wing position, leave your job? Don't even bother asking for a raise. Don't even bother raising concerns about what you're concerned about because you hate this job, you hate this company, leave the company. Like, no, you want to try and change the situation. You want to try and fix things. You want to try and raise issues that maybe if they're addressed would either help you or other people. How is that hating the country? Or how is that hate? Like, it's about trying to improve your situation. That's what it's about. Again, the conflation here that they have to make because they do not want to address the central criticisms because they understand that those criticisms are accurate and they have no real way to refute them. So instead, oh, you hate the country. Leave the country then if you hate it. It's such a very lazy way to deal with these arguments. But last clip here. Let's finish this off.
Punish the rich, which eventually leads to them leaving the country. Oh, yeah. Punish the rich, which eventually leads to them leaving the country. Oh, yeah, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. Yeah, the rich haven't, their money leaves the country and then comes back in the form of an interest-free loan that is then forgiven. Jesus, buddy, come on. The richest people usually employ the most of the population. Oh, boy. Disarm the citizens so that they cannot revolt. Control the media like promoting the government. Control the media. There's two guys that own the media, Ted Turner and fucking that other guy there, the guy from Fox News. That's why we're Hatfields and McCoys right now. Disarm the citizens so they cannot revolt. Control the media like promoting the government agenda with propaganda, then censorship of all their other ideas. Yeah, creating areas where you can only protest, which are down and around the corner, away from the fucking media. Yeah, okay. Eventually, all rights are taken away. Dissenters, journalists, and politicians, oppositions are jailed or executed. Eventually, the leaders will become exactly what they originally campaigned against. Jesus Christ, buddy. I've forgotten what your... He goes, there's much more to it on an economic level, but as a fellow moron, it's too complicated for me to understand. All right. I am also a fellow moron, but dude, all of that shit has happened. If you look at all the rights and everything that you have lost in the last fucking 20 years, I don't even know. I don't even begin in creating a boogeyman and racism, genocide, all of that shit. We've done all of that. We've done all of that. You know, when I was a kid, there was rules on media ownership. No one person could own any 7. It was rules of 7. No one person can own 7 radio stations, newspapers, TV stations, blah, 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 in one market, because they knew if you owned all of that, if you control the media, you control thought. And yet they've let Ted Turner and that fucking, I want to say Ralph Nader, Rupert Murdoch, do exactly that.
Ralph Nader.
And present CNN and Fox News have the fucking balls to present the people that are on TV as journalists and then also acting as though you're watching news. You're not. You're watching propaganda.
God damn. He broke this shit down. Look, the person that sent the comment in, or I guess this long diatribe, it really sounds like, and this is what often is the conflation. They're conflating authoritarianism with socialism. Those are not the same thing. So in terms of the media aspect of it, like, how can you possibly attempt to criticize the media in so-called socialist countries with the media you have in America? Completely corporate owned. You have opinions barely even allowed on television, like criticizing the far right-wing Israeli government and their clear apartheid state and their treatment of Palestinians. That is almost never discussed. I've only ever seen Mehdi Hassan on MSNBC in one segment be allowed to discuss it. Even online, The Hill recently fired Katie Halper because she wanted to discuss, because she agreed with Rashida Tlaib and her criticisms of Israel, which, by the way, is shared by all major human rights organizations. So when you can't even voice opinions like that are shared by major human rights organizations, how can you possibly criticize the media in other places? It boggles the mind how deep these people get in their propaganda. And of course, when it comes to authoritarian country, when it comes to like a place like Russia, people locking up journalists and that kind of thing, and shutting down, yes, that's clearly a problem. But by the way, Russia also not socialist. So there's like, it's important to make these distinctions that yes, authoritarianism is bad, should not be supported, regardless if it's in a real socialist country or in a capitalist country. It's not good. But you have to also acknowledge the obvious issues with capitalism. Like every single argument, I mean, Bill Burr broke it down. Every single argument made here, you could make the same argument about the U.S. It really is crazy. But it's good to see that a comedian here, a popular one that's actually been on Joe Rogan's show, maybe he'll be back and discuss these issues, because I would like to see that. This is, definitely not the Joe Rogan position here. But it's really good to see Bill Burr come out and discuss this. All right. I could have gone 30 minutes on the media. Like that's my issue. It is just crazy that anybody can be that disconnected and not realize what they're saying. But those are the major stories. I got some smaller ones that I can discuss here, that I can bring up, but I haven't really done the proper breakdown on any of them. But, it's news that happened in the week that I didn't cover, so worth bringing it up. But I want to see some chats first. What are people talking about right now? Average Jose says, I share content from the Rational National with all friends and family. Wow, thank you. Thank you, Jose. Let me scroll up here. Bill Burr killing it. Burr spitting the actual facts. Lucas says, literally describing capitalism. LMAO. Yeah, I mean, that guy had no idea. All right. Let me bring up stuff that I saved this week. Where is my links? Here they are. Oh, yeah. So there are some things that I probably don't want to put into a video, but I'll talk about them, like circumcision. All right. Let's talk about circumcision. This week, Dave Rubin had a conversation with Dennis Prager about circumcision. So Dave Rubin, who is in a gay relationship, has 2 kids now by a surrogate, and is apparently circumcising them. So here is this conversation, and I will discuss my maybe surprising position on this issue and my personal experience, if we're going to get into that, if we have to. But here is this video.
It's interesting because, as you know, we just had Justin a couple of weeks ago, and we've got baby number two on the way. But we did the bris at 8 days, and if you look at it from a purely secular point of view, it's somewhat of a crazy thing to do. You bring this perfect thing into the world, and then you're cutting this child. That's what you're doing. And I remember David and I had this talk before about our thoughts on everything, and my overriding feeling about it was that my parents did it. Their parents did it, their parents' parents did it, and way beyond that, for something like 5,783 years.
3,000. Really 3,200.
Yes.
Yeah, or 4,000, actually
4,000, right, the calendar, but
we
go back to Abraham. Okay. But the point is that it's been done for a long, long time. And I felt am I just wiser than every...
By the way, chats are finally showing up for me in, super chats are finally showing up for me on the YouTube tab, so I'll read some of these afterwards. I missed a bunch apparently, so I will get to them. They weren't showing up earlier, so that's why I missed them.
Point is that it's been done for a long, long time, and I felt am I just wiser than everyone that came before me?
Oh, God bless you. Oh, that's so the perfect reaction, and that's what they believe.
They think they are.
Leftists believe they are the best people who ever lived. They do. That's why they tear down Lincoln and Washington. We are better than
It's
them.
true. I'm better
They
than
don't
you.
hold a candle to these people. By the way, I just want you to know I have 2 sons, as you'll have, God willing, and I had I don't cry easily, and I was with the 2 times I most remember sobbing was at their bris, at their circumcision, exactly for what you said. Holy crow. This goes back 4,000 years. I'm not prepared to end it.
It just felt crazy to me. Like, no, I just know so much. I just know so much. I won't do this thing. The people before me were so dumb. It's almost grotesque in a bizarre sense to think that way.
I really thought for a second there, this is the first time I saw Prager's response. I really thought for a second that Prager was going to show humanity for a second and talk about how he cried because he saw his, kid going through pain after we cut off the tip of his dick. But not the way that he went. No, he was crying because of the historical significance of cutting off his foreskin. Okay. Here is my unique position on this issue. This is why I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this out into a full segment, because I'm revealing something right now. I was circumcised as an adult. I was circumcised at 25 for a medical reason. I like to say my dick was too big for my foreskin. That's basically what it was. But it had to be done because sex was painful otherwise. So I've had experience with both. I can say, as somebody who needed the procedure, that it's been much better afterwards. I am much happier now as somebody who is circumcised, but that is not the experience that the vast majority of people have. So look, it's definitely better. If you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to get circumcised at some point, it's definitely better for that to happen when you're a child. It heals much quicker. You clearly forget that it happened or you don't remember at all. But you can't predict that, right? So it doesn't make sense to go around cutting off all these dicks, all these foreskins for the chance that maybe this child's part of the 1% that will need to have this done later on in life. So look, it really doesn't make sense. I understand the religious aspect of it. And look, I respect that. I'm not going to tell you that they shouldn't do that. But I think it makes sense for us to maybe reanalyze some of these long-held beliefs that we have. Even as somebody, again, who has experience with both, I think it makes sense to maybe analyze, is this really the right thing to do? Just doing something for the sake of tradition is not a good enough reason. So there you go. There is my, not secret, but there's that information. I think I've discussed this before, briefly, but there you go. Whenever I've discussed the minor surgery that I've had, that was the surgery. And of course, all covered in Canada. Didn't pay for anything. All covered. It was great. The recovery, not so great. It took a while. I mean, at least a month, but even a little longer after that because of some other complications. But eventually, everything was fine. I'm perfect down there, so no worries, no problem. Oh my God. All right. Now let me grab some super chats before I get to some of these other links that I saved. Because I missed... YouTube decided all of a sudden, now you will see these. You didn't see them the entire time, but here you go. All right. Law Gnomes. Good old Law Gnomes, who is a part of the Discord. Join the Discord. Link in the chat on the stream. Law Gnome says, smoke me if you got him. Sadly weird that this move to push popular policy is so... Why is this cutting off? Is so out of the ordinary. That's on the issue of Biden and his cannabis moves. Yes, agreed. Radzosa says, hello, David. Have you ever seen Reefer Madness? It's pretty funny. I have not. I think it's a 1936 movie. I don't think I'd be able to force myself through that. The furthest I can go back with like old movies is like the movie Psycho. I have a hard time watching old movies, especially ones that are propaganda filled. Donald James says, hello, David. Good Friday to you. Good Friday to you, Donald. Thank you for being a member. Did I read this one? Yes, I did. I read Rhino Wikis about stochastic terrorism. Tatted Jedi says, I loved your pardoned video you did yesterday. Dark Brandon mode activated. Also, the belt is cringe. The belt is cringe. What's the belt about? I don't know what the belt is. I think I don't understand. But thank you for your super chat. Still Alive says, do you think Boebert has a decent chance of losing? I haven't followed her race. Is she in a possibly losing race? I don't know. Let me see. What's polling with Boebert? I just assume these freaks would keep their positions, but I could be wrong. Boebert in a statistical tie. Who is she up against? Let's check this out. Boebert in a statistical tie with challenger in re-election bid. So, Adam Frisch. So Boebert's still ahead by 2 points, but, statistical tie in the margin of error. All right. Well, I guess it's possible. It's really going to depend on turnout, right? Like if turnout is as high as it is predicted, then I think very, it's possible. Let me read some rando chats. I didn't get to see your reactions to circumcision, so I want to see what some of you had to say. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, my son not circumcised, and I agonized over that because I was, as someone who had to have it done, I was thinking, is he going to have to go through what I went through in the future? Because I don't want him to go through that. But at the same time, I don't know. So for me, just to make that choice, it didn't feel right. Because ultimately, I did make the choice myself, even though I wish it had already been done. But I wouldn't have known, right? Like it's one of those things where you don't know. So, but I did not get it done for him. What else is going on here? Camille says happily uncut, staying that way. Isaac says having a choice is key. I think you're right. Which woman says it was, I meant to mention this in my video. Damn it. Says it was originally done for hygiene purposes. Can I go back and re-record a piece? Let me just add this on in case I make this a video. I'm just going to add an extra piece on here. One more thing I forgot to mention. Often what is brought up when it comes to circumcision is the hygienic aspect of it. Oh, it's more hygienic. I always found this argument to be rather odd because it's also easier to not have to clean between your toes. So should we cut your feet off because it's more hygienic to not have to clean between your toes? What if you have dirty toes? It's just, you're supposed to teach your child how to clean himself. The idea that it's more hygienic if you're missing body parts, I guess technically that's true, but it's also maybe not the best argument to make if you can just learn how to clean yourself. Okay, there we go. That was my point on that. That argument is very weird. Very, very weird. Still got a bit of cough. I've had a bit of a cough for 4 months. It's wonderful. So wonderful. Sparkly Unicorn says, damn, I knew David had that BDE. No comment. Marcus T says, that big circumcision energy. You guys kill me. Christine says, weird way to welcome a kid into the world. Yeah, it is a weird way. By the way, it's only really circumcision is only really a very popular practice in America. I mean, other, places where it's religious for religious reasons as well, also popular. But in terms of, like secular nations, it's only really popular in the US. Canada, not really. Europe, even less so. So it is sort of a uniquely American cultural phenomenon in that sense. And all really appears to be, of course, partly because of religion, but also largely because of this idea around cleanliness, which, again, as I just discussed, is a little dumb. All right, I'm going to pull up some more links that I saved. Dan says, your secret is safe with us, David. Donald James says, LMAO, David should be a porn star. Big dick dole. Maybe in another life, before I had a child and a family that exists that can see what I do for a living. Not that there's anything, I mean, if that's what you do, nothing against you. All the power to you. In fact, I'm even envious in some way. But it's not something I could really do. All right. Yeah, a lot of comments are being automatically hidden. I'm not doing that. I guess, I don't know. I'm going to show some of these. Green Mind says it's not hard to just clean your D, LOL, circumcision gang. Let's just do a full circumcision stream. I should have named this stream Circumcision Madness. Cut or uncut. All right. What else did I save? Oh wait, there's more chats. Dignan, why is text so small? Ignatius Dignam says, or as a member, thank you for becoming a member. Jason says, the Republicans fear-mongering around weed. We need to get their boy Ted Nugent, who's building an Amazon warehouse-sized weed-growing factory in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Their hypocrisy knows no bounds. It doesn't. I'm sure he still is just full-on pure Trump. Mark says, Circumcision Madness, the director's cut. Oh, there are so many puns we could do. Left it all on the table. Bad jokes, Brian says, glad my wife isn't here. She would leave me for David. He already has the hair and good looks. Come on now, Brian. I'm a normal guy. All right. What did I save? I've been saying this for years. What else did I save here? There's like a serious story. I don't want to even talk about it. It's a Friday. It's a Friday afternoon. If you're in Canada, Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm not going to saddle you with really terrible shit. Why am I going to do that? Ruin your weekend? Doesn't make any sense. But what I can do is bring this up. Far-right conspiracy theorist Alex Jones praises conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Alex Jones tells viewers Poilievre is leading a global far-right movement alongside Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro and Italy's Giorgia Meloni. Yes. I am glad that Alex Jones has done this because now it makes it even easier to showcase who Poilievre is. You can go through his history, if you're not Canadian, just a quick recap here. Poilievre is essentially trying to play the populist card, as many current far-right leaders are. Yet this is a guy that has spent his entire career voting against workers' rights. He's been against abortion rights. He's been against gay rights with votes. And now he's claiming, or he's the one to stand up for the little guy and stand up for the people. It's all bullshit. So having Alex Jones here clearly define him and put him alongside other right-wing extremists worldwide, I think really helps to frame any discussion around Pierre Poilievre. But actually, I haven't seen Alex Jones's words on this. Here they are. Can I watch Alex Jones on YouTube? Is that a problem? Maybe that's a problem. I'll just cut it later. Let's see what he says. It is now. It's press progress, so there's no problems here at all.
So as negative as things are, we got.
Is it low for you? Because it's low for me. Do I have that? No, I don't. I used to have a way to raise the volume. Okay, well, we'll have to deal with this.
Got Bolsonaro. We got Giorgia Moroni in Italy. We've got the new Canadian leader set to beat Trudeau, who's totally anti-New World Order. I mean, you look all over the world, we are rising right now, but that concerns me because the deep state globalists are going to throw out everything they've got. They're going to pull out all the stops.
All right, so it's just him connecting Poilievre to the other leaders, as was mentioned in the title of this. So yeah, accurate. I'm not sure how deeper we want to get into this. So I'm slowly building a Pierre Poilievre video with various links, and at some point I'll figure out how to put it all together and deploy it. Because I still haven't. I left the week. The day that he became conservative leader in Canada, that was my week off, the beginning of my week off. So I completely missed that story. And then once I got back, it was kind of old. But I still, of course, want to cover him. I just want to find the right way to do it. And often it takes, some other story as the jumping off point. This is how I normally do videos, is there's a jumping off point I find for a topic that I want to get into, and I use that jumping off point to go deeper into that topic. So that's kind of what I'm doing with Poilievre. But there you go. There's likely, assuming the NDP Liberal deal continues, and it may not, but assuming it continues, there won't be another election for at least 2-3 more years. So it's not likely we're not likely to see any conservative, government anytime soon in Canada, but it is a possibility. Especially if Trudeau doesn't, step down. But I tend to think that they are smart enough to replace him before the next election. And I'm sure that's what they will do. All right, what else did I save here? Rand Paul does not show up to a debate. So this is Rand Paul is a no-show for the first scheduled Kentucky Senate debate against Charles Booker. Let's watch this. It's just 3 seconds long. Not much to watch here.
Mr. Booker, thank you for being here this evening, and we'll get right to it.
Okay. But there you go. This is the other tactic that the right often uses, is just pretend the other argument or the other person doesn't even exist. Look, it's fair to argue that, strategically, I think that is the best move for Rand Paul, which is why he did it. But it shows you how unwilling they are to engage in any actual debate, even when it is their job to do so. Like they claim, oh, the left doesn't want to debate or doesn't want to talk about these issues. Here they are. Here is a member of the Democratic Party trying to discuss these issues, and Rand Paul not showing up because he knows any exposure at all to this debate and to Booker is going to hurt him. This also came up this week. Musk declined to attend in-person Twitter deposition, citing COVID exposure. This is the guy that exposed his entire warehouse to COVID. Kept Tesla warehouses open during the height of COVID. Yet here, after numbers have, they've gone down, but people are still dying consistently from COVID. But after, people like him definitely would claim that COVID is over, here he is declining to attend this in-person deposition. And now I covered a story on Elon Musk now agreeing to buy Twitter, but last I read, the court hasn't received any paperwork in terms of ending the lawsuit. So it sounds like the lawsuit or the trial still going on for the 17th, I think is when it starts. This whole story is so bizarre because it just keeps continuing. There is no end to it. And Musk has had at least one of his big funders drop out. So who knows if he's actually going to end up owning Twitter. And I'm sure a lot of you out there don't care, are not on Twitter, but Twitter is an important resource for a lot of journalists. A lot of news gets broken on there. There was a lot of discussion. Really one of the few social media places where there is an actual discussion between different viewpoints, because Facebook is very siloed. TikTok, same thing. It feeds you what you want to see. There isn't, I'm sure there's discussion in the comments sometimes, but it's very siloed in terms of what it feeds you. YouTube, similar kind of thing. Twitter, there really is, an encouragement to have debate. Especially recently, I am getting so many suggested tweets from far-right lunatics on my Twitter feed. It is insane. Every single day, I wish I took screenshots because it's the number has to be over 50 now at this point, because every single day I open the feed and there is a new lunatic in my feed that I don't follow that Twitter is telling me to look at. So, I mean, on one hand, you could say, hey, that's good. They're trying to, encourage debate here, but I'm very skeptical that they're doing the same thing to people on the right. It really feels like they're just pushing right-wing content. This broke today. Trump effectively sold Sheldon Adelson the sensitive foreign policy decision to move the U.S. embassy to Israel to Jerusalem in exchange for a $20 million super PAC donation. This is how politics in America works. And remember, Trump was on the debate stage back in 2016 during the primary, talking about how, if I call this politician, they pick up the phone, they answer me, I tell them what to do. And that's part of why he was popular and rose to fame on the right, is because he talked about that shit. And of course, once he got in, just engaged in all the same corruption that everyone before him did. So this is just a overt example of that. Just trading money, a donation, for a complete major shift in a policy position. It really is gross. And as they write here, 58 Palestinians were killed and 2,700 injured in the aftermath of that decision. So this is a piece by responsiblestatecraft.org. So if you want to read more about that, you can check that out. Just wild. All right, good timing here because I should be going soon. So let me do some chatting. See, maybe do this. There we go. How about that? Let me grab these chats, see what's going on. I'll scroll up a bit too. Car Wash Freak says, remember to early vote, check your state. We are dealing with election deniers. Vote local as well this year. Great points. Car Wash Freak also says Roe ruling could suppress rural GOP voters. I am really curious to see what impact it will have in terms of turning Democratic voters out, because if everybody voted, Democrats would win every election. Putting gerrymandering aside, but that's often the issue, and you can't blame the voters for not coming out because it's on Democrats to actually excite people out to vote. But there are unique times like this where something crazy happens, like the overturning of Roe, that is enough to activate a lot of people who wouldn't normally vote out to vote. And I think you are going to see a lot of that. And it's also good to see a lot of Democratic candidates talk about this and focus on this issue, because they know how unpopular the Republican position is on this. Eric Hansen says, oh no, Daddy Dole is watching us now, fam. Behave yourselves. What was happening before? What did I miss? What are you kids up to? I will scroll up though. Chat a bit before I have to jump off here. And maybe, just maybe, I'll do some game stream this weekend. Here's something I am personally struggling with. It's a personal struggle of mine. Whether to stream games on YouTube or Twitch. Because Twitch, there's no audience, no one really cares. I might as well just be on my couch playing games. On YouTube, there's more of an audience. I can actually converse and have, good conversations, but I'm not a game streamer on YouTube, right? So the worry is, can that hurt my content? So what I've been doing, or what I did this past weekend, I had a 4-hour gaming stream on YouTube, actually, and on Twitch. I did simulcasting, but it was mostly I was talking with YouTube chatters, and then I just unlisted it. So it was up for those 4 hours. I took it down. It's still up there if you have the link, but it's not public on the page. So I think in that sense, I can do that. But at the same time, I don't want to hide this content either, right? Like I'm fine with people seeing it. It's just I don't want to. It's really about the algorithm. That's the real issue, is how YouTube sees random game stream content in a channel that normally pushes out videos about politics. So that's the only worry there. Typical Canadian says, throw it on your David Dole channel, maybe. That is a plan. That is an idea. The issue is I can't live stream on there right now. There are certain requirements. I think you have to hit a certain number of viewers in a certain time frame to actually unlock live streaming. So I don't have that unlocked yet on that channel. But and the other issue there is, again, I don't mind doing that, but I have to rebuild an audience. And I spent a long time building this audience. And a good chunk of you are gamers. So to hide that content away, I don't know if that's, there is no perfect solution here. I mean, every option, whether it's on a different YouTube channel, this channel, or on Twitch, they all have their upsides and downsides. Dave, are you going to stream the Oz Fetterman debate? When is it? When is that debate? That's late this month, right? I think it's late this month. If I can, yes. That sounds like a good time. I will say though, so it's on the 25th. 25th, I'm sure I can. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to, but let me check that date if anything is happening. 25th, that's a Tuesday. Yeah. Yes, as long as I remember to, I will live stream that, and assuming there's no copyright issues with streaming it. But I am a little concerned. I mean, Fetterman is still recovering from his stroke. So he isn't as quick as he once was. That said, he's correct on his positions compared to Oz. So, but having the correct position doesn't win you the debate. Debate is a lot about performance, and Oz has a history of being on television, of being a performer. He's a professional bullshit artist. That's who Dr. Oz is. So just because he's terrible in media appearances, which he largely is, it doesn't mean that he would be terrible in a debate, especially against somebody who is still recovering from a stroke. So I don't know, but I do want to see that, and I will stream it as long as there's no problem with copyright. Bathroom says you can make a playlist or second gaming channel. Playlist is something I haven't. I have a playlist for my podcast with my buddy Miles, so that is on this channel. You can, if you scroll down the main page channel, you'll see that. I mean, I could just do that. Those podcasts haven't really hurt the channel. That's my alarm. I'll give myself 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Just reading through chat here. See if I can grab out something else. In these last 2 minutes, what can we talk about? Tim Fry says Aaron O'Toole, though a tool through and through, was at least a quote-unquote reasonable right-winger who realized they had to at least lie to cover up their kookiness. Yeah, I wouldn't call him, I know what you're saying, I wouldn't call him reasonable, even though you have in quotes. But no, in terms of the strategy of it, I agree with you. That said, he lost. So you could argue maybe that wasn't the winning strategy. I mean, we saw how Trump won. He wasn't soft around the edges. So it really is, it depends so much on turnout. It depends on who the other candidates are and what the parties are fighting for. Though I have to imagine it's harder for someone like a Trump-like figure to win in a parliamentary system, but it's still first past the post. So not necessarily. People still often just vote for the leader, even though they're really voting for their MP. But yeah. So I don't know. Poilievre can definitely win for sure. There has to be a stronger liberal leader and a stronger NDP leader. And then, you're still dealing with a split in the vote in that as well, at least somewhat. But Donald James says, I haven't seen Sahil live stream in a long time. Yeah, I agree with you. He was streaming for a bit there over the summer and just stopped. I think he's in school now, so maybe that's why. But I saw him post some. He was at TwitchCon. Looked like he had a good time there. So maybe he'll be back. Antonio Costa says, I mean, David Pakman did stream the Arizona debate. I don't see why you couldn't do that for the Georgia debate. It depends on who's carrying it. So certain channels, legally, it's fine. Legally, it's definitely under fair use. There's no problem with it. But certain channels are very hypersensitive to that and will automatically just try and, do copyright claims or strikes on channels that are streaming it without caring about it being legal or not. So I don't know. All right. I should probably get off. I have to get off. I must get off. All right. This was a fun time. Hopefully I'm back this weekend on YouTube or Twitch. Twitch link is below the video if I happen to just go on there, but I'm going to see. I'm going to see if I can do both. We'll see. So make sure you follow me. Hit that bell notification icon. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And have a great weekend. And if you're in Canada, happy Thanksgiving. Goodbye.